All right. Welcome, everybody, to Quibble's first live stream, the Quibbl World Cup live stream event. I'm Andrew Kingsbury. I'll be your co host along with Ryan Cluett, the politics editor, or excuse me, the sports editor, rather,
You're,
and Michael Corvo of the pop culture team. He's the editor there.
we are
All
off
right.
to a flying start.
We're off to a flying start. We do have some drinks with us here. So I have
Oh,
some wine. Uh, it's from the Tuscan region of Italy. It's a Tuscan super blend. I actually haven't even tried it yet, so I don't know if it's good, but it has a good score apparently. And I'm drinking it because one, I like Italian wine, and I grew up in Italy, and also because I'm sad that Italy is not in the World Cup.
so this is
Um,
great. Italy is. I wore my. I'm also Italian. I wore my Italia sweater for this occasion. So we have to represent Italy because they are not represented in the World Cup. So we have double Italy representation here, which is apt.
right
I
on.
almost chose to wear my U.S. jersey, but I decided to instead go with the international cosmopolitan flag shirt.
Nice.
Celebrate the.
Globalism. You're a man of the
Right
world.
on.
What
We
can I
did
say?
have one victory though today. So we had the announcement of the 2026 World Cup bid winner, which was North America. Which it seemed like most people were thinking that was going to happen anyways, but for some reason I don't know why. I thought,
Aqua was putting up a fight.
yeah, but it was like 67 to 33% or something like that. And then one person chose none of the two, neither of the two. One country, rather, one country. I'm
Yes,
not sure
yes.
exactly which country
Come
it is
on,
just
have a
yet.
take. Have a
I've,
take.
I've got it.
Yeah, right.
Do you want to make a prediction? You can make a prediction before I let you know who that country was. Who do you think?
Quibble about this.
We're
Yeah.
we're quibbling.
Um, let's see. I'm gonna
Country in
say that it was Russia.
Okay.
What about you, Michael?
Uh, North Korea.
Mm.
Okay.
Are they part of FIFA?
Yes, they are.
Oh wow,
They have
dang!
federation. Would you like me to reveal
Please,
this mystery country? I
Yeah.
please.
will require a drum roll in order to get everything immediately
I
moving.
I will try and do a drum roll real fast here, and there we
All right,
go.
so this mystery country who cast the sole, vote for none of the bids was Iran.
Uh,
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
Interesting. I thought
So I
they
was
would have
going
chosen
through.
Morocco.
Yeah, no, it was interesting. I was going through kind of the what everybody was saying. I was actually up at that time, weirdly enough, kind
Oh,
of paying
really?
attention. Yeah, it was.
What
Don't
time did
ask.
they do the actual vote at? Like three, four, five?
I think it came a little bit later. That was around 6, something like that.
Oh,
Um, but they started like announcing all the delegates and stuff like that, like around like two or
mm,
three in the morning. But essentially, some of the kind of talking points. So the final votes tally for the United bid was 134 votes for to 65 votes for Morocco. So it was a pretty big margin.
yeah,
Obviously, the U.S. United bid with Canada and Mexico, that was the favored bid. And obviously, because we have the existing infrastructure,
yeah.
23 stadiums already built, occupied, fully operational, compared to, I think I was reading, it was like 14 venues would have had to be built slash retonated
yeah. It
for
was
the
like they're gonna
tournament.
have to spend billions, like several billions of dollars. Where I think the United bid would have to spend between the three countries. I think it was like between around like $2 billion or something like that. Yeah, they're gonna have to spend a ton in order to
Russia
make that
built 9
happen.
of the 12, I think, that I saw for this tournament
Oh,
of the
really?
stadiums. Like, that's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
Wow.
I think
yeah,
I thought they would have just had the infrastructure there. Huh.
they did. I don't know. Yeah.
I know that they
Interesting.
used I can't remember the name, whatever the name of the stadium is for Sochi. They're using the stadium that was used for the opening and closing ceremonies for the Olympics. Um,
The only 2 times the stadium will ever be used.
exactly, like quite the legacy, huh?
Yeah.
Let's see. So I was kind of going through. I was reading a little bit about who voted for whom, stuff like that. So we had the Russian delegation was the big shock. They were expected to vote for Morocco. They instead chose to vote for the United bid,
Oh,
along with quite a few African nations. They thought that maybe Morocco would have swept the African vote. Couple other notable ones: France, Netherlands, and Italy all voted for Morocco.
even Italy. Oh
Yeah,
wow. Huh. I know France would
Taking it
because
off.
it's like a former colony and stuff, and they have that relation and stuff. But um, so that reminds me. During the I'm gonna let's see. I'm sharing my screen to the live stream, but not to you guys. I guess I could just share my screen with you guys as well, so you can see what I'm talking about. But since you're talking about the bidding process and all of that, uh, I read this New York Times article about how Donald Trump, he wrote 3 letters to FIFA. Basically, the way that I understood it in the article
You're a
is
heat.
that
Yeah.
he was basically like required to send them these letters assuring them that if people from Iran or whatever country in the world came to watch and spectate, that they wouldn't be denied visas. So in these letters, Donald Trump himself, with White House letterhead, said, "Hey, we will not discriminate against anybody. Everybody that comes to attend the World Cup will be allowed to enter." Which is also interesting because in 2026, Donald Trump will no longer be president as long as he abides by the 2-term rule and stuff. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm sure that Donald Trump will
Percent
do that.
never. Yeah. Who knows?
Exactly. Another really interesting thing that this New York Times article has in it is the fact that the U.S. Soccer Federation president, as well as the Canada and Mexico Soccer Association presidents, they on their phones during meetings where they would go to countries to lobby them for their votes, they had on their phones the actual picture of Donald Trump's letter. So if anybody ever asked them, "Hey, what do you have anything to be worried about? Are people not getting in to spectate our country and be fans and stuff like that at the events?" They were like, "No, check out our phones. This is from the President of the United States." So that was the second of 3 cool, pretty intense things that the Trump administration did in order to kind of secure the bid. The other was that within that article, they talked about how members of the national security team, as well as Jared Kushner, they would actually go to various countries, or if they were visiting, they would talk to these other countries. So it says right here, the National Security Council has been in touch with other countries whose votes could help out the United States and put them over the top. So they literally had people on the National Security Council working on this bid and stuff. Surprisingly, though, it wasn't really in the news that much. Maybe Americans just don't watch as much soccer as they should, in my opinion. But those are some cool things, I guess, about the bidding process and what the Trump administration and the National Security Council did. What's up, Michael?
It's also a good deal for us. Like we get like in terms of the arrangement with Canada and Mexico is I think I saw they each get 10 games
Yep.
and then we get 60, I think, or
Yep.
whatever it is.
Yep.
But everything after the quarterfinals
Yeah.
is America, which is awesome. So,
Exactly.
and then we have the Olympics in LA 2 years later.
Yeah.
So
It's
if
gonna
we make
be quite
ourselves
a
together
quite a
and we make
few
it till
couple of
then,
years.
that's going to be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so they
It's
apparently you might know more about this, Ryan. They have to whittle down the so apparently there's more stadiums that they have as part of this list that they're going to whittle down. I believe it's from like 23 to 18 or 16 stadiums or something like that.
Yeah, I haven't quite taken a look at the which games are going to be. I just took a quick glance this afternoon about the cities involved. It's like Toronto, Montreal, Edmonton was the shock city out of Canada, not Vancouver. Obviously you've got like I think it's Houston, San Francisco's
Boston was
there,
in
LA,
there,
Boston, New York,
Philadelphia, DC, New York.
Orlando. I think I don't
I
remember if
think
Orlando's
I
there.
believe
Miami's
that
definitely there.
the Giants Stadium. So the final game, the finals of the 2026 World Cup will be at the stadium where the Giants play. I want to say.
Right. Yeah, right over in
Um,
Jersey, right over, yeah.
exactly. Yep. Yeah.
For Mexico, that was let's see, I
It
believe it
was
was
Guadalajara,
Monterrey.
Guadalajara, the Mexico City, and then there might have been one other country or
Monterrey, I believe,
city
is the
rather.
third one.
Let me see. There was this article I didn't save it, but I read it earlier today, and it kind of had it had a map of all of the initial cities, and then some of them will get weeded out and so on.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah,
Monterrey, Guadalajara, Mexico City. For Mexico, we've got LA, San Francisco, Seattle, Denver, Kansas City, Dallas, Houston, Nashville, which is pretty cool. There's
yeah.
a
Kansas. You said Kansas City, right?
yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
sick.
Um, there's a
Yeah.
burgeoning soccer scene growing in Nashville, which is pretty neat. So they're going to be one of the next teams to have an expansion team for MLS, and Liverpool's ex CEO Ian Ayre, excuse me, is going to be their new CEO, which is kind of interesting. Gives you a little taste of their ambition.
Yeah.
I was
Sorry, what's
at
that?
a doctor's visit earlier today, and I was like, he asked me, my doctor asked me, hey, so what's new and everything. So I was like, oh, the U.S. The United bid got the World Cup, and he was like, what's that? And he had no idea, and he was like, even if it's at Gillette, because I live in the Greater Boston area, even if it's at Gillette, he basically was like, I don't think I'd even really notice and stuff. So hopefully, I'm sure that they'll do a lot of marketing in like the 1, maybe even 2 years, or even further beyond that, to market the event so that people actually know what's going on. All the regular soccer fans here in the United States, I'm sure will show up and stuff. But on to the 2018 World Cup in
Yeah.
Russia.
Yes.
What stuff do you have that you feel is notable, Ryan?
So kind of breaking over the last, I would say,
Wait.
24 hours or so.
First of
Oops, sorry.
all, Ryan, tell us what you're drinking.
Oh
What am I
yeah,
drinking?
that's right. We forgot to do that.
I am drinking Pisco or Pisco. I was looking,
Tell us
so
Pisco. Pisco does not sound as
Pisco Disco, I guess.
Oh
No,
man.
that's Pisco. The two teams I'm kind of besides England that I'm interested in for this World Cup are Senegal and Peru. And so I woke up today thinking I want to find something from either of those countries, sit there and say, hey, like this would be neat to bring on for the show. And said, I have no idea what I could get from Senegal without going like an hour and a half train ride to somewhere in Brooklyn or the Bronx or somewhere trying to find something. So I was like, well, what else can I find? So I was talking to my roommate, and he's like, oh, you can get Pisco. And I was like, what's Pisco? It's a spirit from Peru. And I was like, all right. So we went down, and sure enough, we got some. So my pisco here is technically Chilean because it's a Peruvian
Mm.
Chilean spirit, and it came with this nifty little glass, and I'm very excited about
Ah,
it.
what does it taste
nice. I love it when they do that.
It's very smooth,
Hmm.
it's kind of like it's like vodka sort of, but you get kind of these little like floral, slight fruity notes. It's kind of interesting.
like?
Nice.
Nice.
So it's not like straight up like, oh my goodness, this hurts when you have some. It's very smooth, very easy going. So I put a little bit of lemon seltzer water, some lime juice, some ice, and a splash of lemonade.
Nice. I did have for the first time, so I'd never heard of it before. I had what's called a pisco sour, and I kept on saying
Yeah.
pisco, and everybody at the bar was like correcting me on it and stuff. But it was really good. They had like this frothed up like egg whites inside of it, and it was really strong, but it was like deceptively strong, where it was really sweet, and it just tasted really good. It was super smooth, and if you weren't watching out, if you had like two or three, you'd be feeling it and stuff.
Right.
Well, it's funny you mention that because it comes with this like weird box and has all these little recipes, and that's one of them. So
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. The pisco
there you
sour.
go.
Nice.
Next
Awesome.
next podcast.
Exactly. What are we drinking? The Pisco Disco.
Every live stream will have our cocktail game will be more advanced.
Let's see. So you mentioned Senegal. I'm half Senegalese. So who are so I guess we'll start with them just for that reason. But what's it called? So who are some of the top players there? I know you're a Liverpool fan.
Yeah, so obviously being a Liverpool fan, I have nothing but positive things to say about my guy Sadio Mane. A lot of people were kind of like on his case early in the season. He's like, oh, he's not playing as well as he has because he had a heck of a year last year and kind of single-handedly kept the team going. He had a really great second half, arguably the team's best player in the Champions League final last month against Real. Obviously scored the goal that gave Liverpool fans a little bit of hope. But he's going to be the big attacking focal point for Senegal.
Mm.
The thing is that they actually, so a lot of people are like, oh, Nigeria, first of all, Nigeria's kit, amazing. Best kit of
Yes.
all time. I'm going to
A
go on
kit?
a limb and say
What do you
that.
mean kit?
So a kit is what they call the uniform in soccer. So your shirt, mainly in reference to your shirt or jersey, but that is the soccer colloquialism for your
Peru
jersey.
also has great ones. Yeah.
Peru, yeah, they've got the classic white shirt with the red sash, excuse me. Just a classic look. Brazil, always great shirt. Colombia, a lot of the teams are going for the kind of like 90s vibe this year, which excites me. Like Colombia is going with the 90s print. Germany is going off of a variation of their very famous 1990 World Cup kit. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you should Google that because it's absolute fire.
The Columbia kit you said?
No, the German kit from the 1990s.
German kit.
Anyway, back to Senegal.
Sure.
So everybody's kind of looking at in terms of African nations who are going to kind of go far. Nigeria, and yes, they have a good squad, but I think Senegal is going to be better. Obviously, Mane is the big guy. Kalidou Koulibaly, is the big center back. He's world class, one of the best center backs in the world. Plays for Napoli. He famously in April had this goal. I think it was April, if not early May, when Napoli were still kind of in the title race against Juventus, scored a late winner against Juventus. Just absolutely smashed a header in, and the announcers went nuts. So he's a heck of a player. Everybody tries to say, hey, you're interested in selling him, but Napoli are notoriously hard to negotiate with, and to kind of even prize him away, it'd have to be a world record bid for a defender because he is that good. Meanwhile, in their midfield, they got Idris Gana Guy, who plays for Everton. So a lot of Premier League fans will recognize him. Same with Cheku Kouyaté, who's the captain of the team, plays for West Ham.
Give me your African country power rankings for this World Cup.
Ooh.
My power rankings for this World Cup for African nations. I'm going to go for Senegal 1, Nigeria 2.
That's a close one too, though.
It's very close, but I'm going to give it to Senegal because I'm going to bring up the forwards. They have they're just stacked, and they have, let's see, they're bringing something ridiculous like 7-8 attacking players. So of course you've got Sadio Mane, Mame Briam Diouf plays for Stoke City, Moussa Sow. Now he's a little bit older. He's playing in Turkey for Bursaspor. Keita Balde, for me, is going to be one of the kind of players to watch. He's been kind of he had a really good couple of years at Lazio in Italy before moving to Monaco last season to kind of replace some of the outgoing players there. And very fast, very skillful. He's added kind of a goal-scoring touch to him, so he's kind of like a utility player across the field. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets more time centrally. Kind of he and Mane kind of rotate out of there. Niang plays for Watford. He was playing for Watford. Excuse me. No. Let's see. No. He is Watford. At one point, I think he was owned by AC Milan. He just signed with Torino, I believe. So they've got a lot of attacking talent, and that's going to take you far in the tournament. So I'm going to say they're the best African team. Nigeria second. I'm going to say Egypt third. Got to go with my boy Mo Salah. They still don't know if he's going to be ready or not. They're keeping that probably.
He was injured in the UEFA Champions League final, right? Is that what it was?
Yes. An interesting tackle from Sergio Ramos, so I'm not going to elaborate further on that. But, yes, it's the ligament injury, so thankfully nothing too serious. I think I'm going to go Morocco, then Tunisia. Morocco, I think, could be if they weren't in their group, I would have put them a little bit higher because there is creativity in that side with Boudabous and Ziyech from Ajax, who is rumored to be on his way out this season. But in terms of African nations, I think Senegal is the team to look out for. I think they're the team that's kind of most primed to make a run at the World Cup this year from Africa.
I believe their last World Cup appearance, where they also got to the quarterfinals, I'm quite sure it was 2002, and they haven't been back since then. I could be wrong.
No,
Uh,
that is
that is
absolutely
correct.
correct.
Oh, okay.
I was like in fifth grade, I think,
Oh yeah.
in 2002. I remember that because it was such a big deal that Senegal beat France, and I was like, oh my goodness. I think they beat Sweden in the round of six, or excuse me, yeah, the round of 16. They beat Sweden,
Mm.
and yeah, it was that was crazy. So it's kind of cool that they're this is kind of their best team since, and they've got a real good chance. And so there was a weird little corruption scandal that essentially got them in.
The corruption scandals. This is
Mm. Oh
Um,
yeah.
always
I won't elaborate too much, but essentially they got their spot because I want to say it was Ghana.
Ghana like doesn't have a soccer federation.
Yeah, they completely disbanded, which is nuts to me.
Yeah, Cameroon's like really good every year. Yeah.
Mm.
And so that's really unfortunate for African soccer.
Yes.
But essentially, they got to take advantage of, I think it's either Ghana or South Africa, the referee corruption.
Oh, it was on the referees.
They had to go to a
Ah.
replay, and then they ended up winning the replay, and so they ended up qualifying for the
Oh.
tournament. So, like to think there's a little bit of extra motivation there to kind of say, hey, like we don't need help to qualify. This is
Wait,
us.
speaking of corruption
Yes,
scandals
I was about to say. Nice.
Ooh, segue.
and your Pisco, you break down the Paulo Guerrero interim not suspended just to play in the World Cup cocaine thing.
What is that? I have no idea what that is. Take it
Um,
away.
so I only know that Paulo Guerrero he's like the biggest thing in Peruvian football. They had made a movie about him.
Yes, talk about this, but go for it. Keep going. Yeah.
I'll let you elaborate on that later. But they weren't. He got a drugs ban for cocaine. I think it was in the fall, October. Off the top of my head, it's all very loose. I do apologize.
No worries.
The god there though. He's like 36 striker, like been a god forever, but hasn't been able to play in a World Cup because they haven't made one until now.
Yeah. Peru's first World Cups in over 30 years, 35 years, something like that. Yeah, so it's a massive deal that everybody's like, oh no, it's our captain. Like, is he going to play? Is he not going to play? In about a week or two ago, they announced that they've cleared him to play. So this is a massive deal for Peru.
They
And
were like the whole country like advocated for it, and like the president got involved, and they were like,
Yeah.
it was like FIFA was like, I think you can like they were just like fine, you can play in the World Cup, but then you're suspended again.
yeah,
They're just letting you play the World Cup, which to me like it's ridiculous because it makes no sense, but it's also like this is the one time this guy can be in the World Cup. Like he's a god there, he's our best player. Like let him play. I don't know. I think it's
I'm reading here that he blamed his cocaine, his positive test for cocaine on some tainted tea.
Tainted tea.
So
Really?
if you're a tea drinker out there,
Be careful.
be careful.
A little more on corruption. What do you think in terms of 2018 Russia getting that? Was there any sort of corruption smoke around that? I know that there's that sort of situation with Qatar in 2022.
So it's funny because it's kind of like bringing up sort of a little bit of what I was reading about kind of the bid process today and stuff. So they were trying to be like, oh, we're very transparent. Like this is how everybody's voting. This is why they're voting, things like that. Because this is the first vote since 2010, after of course the Qatar and the Russia incidents. And so obviously we all heard about the 2015 FIFA bribing scandal, and they're still kind of sorting through the mess with that. And so that was kind of the thing that one of my favorite writers is David Cohn, and he writes for The Guardian. And so one of the things he's always kind of explored is kind of the money side of the sport, and kind of like, oh, like this game is slowly selling its soul. And so he's kind of like looking at where it's going to be tricky for smaller nations, less developed countries kind of get tournaments because of the money that's involved, and B, kind of the looking at how the current political situation with the U.S. and the fact that there's an ongoing investigation by the Department of Justice, and the fact that hey, the U.S. got this. They won. Essentially, the U.S. powered the bid. Um, and so they're still sorting through all the corruption. And yes, it was very clear that Russia and Qatar they're bribes to obtain the votes.
Right.
Long story short, but the funny part is the big kind of players in the corruption scandal came from Chuck Blazer, who's an American representative.
He lived
to
in Trump
FIFA.
Tower, I think, too,
He
right?
lived in Trump Tower,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, he's
yeah.
also a crazy cat guy, something like that.
Yes, yeah. He
Yeah, he's
had
a
tons
crazy
of
cat guy.
cats or something. Yeah,
And then too, you also had Jack Warner, who was also part of CONCACAF. I'm blanking on which nation he is from. I want to say Haiti, but I could be wrong. But
I
it's
think
just
it might
funny.
be Jamaica. I think I know who you're talking about. What was it? Something Warner? What was it?
Jack Warner,
Jack Warner FIFA.
Use.
Uh, Trinidad and
Trinidad.
Tobago.
Okay.
Yep.
But it's just kind of funny that some of the major players are a little close to home. While it was such a big outrage in England and USA that we didn't get the bids. So
Hmm.
funny with England. A couple of the FA sent some delegates, obviously, to vote in the election, and so everybody stood up when Putin came in, but the FA delegates did not. So a little bit of drama there, some
Oh,
spicy drama at
right. Because of the poisoning. Is that why?
yeah, of course, with the escalated the tensions
Skripal
going
or
on there, and so they were talking about like David Gill, ex executive for the Premier League and Manchester United, was like, oh, I had to shake Putin's hand. It was formalities. I want to say he's the number 2 in FIFA. If he's not number 2, he's up there. But it was just funny that the FA chose not to stand. Oh, David Gill's like, oh, I have to shake his hand. But soccer still they're working through the corruption. I'm sure there's lots of little things that we don't really get to know about or see. But one last thing with the whole kind of bidding, corruption, stuff like that,
Mhm.
Donald Trump did tweet a congratulatory tweet.
Oh, yes, I
Um,
did see that. I was kind of waiting for it because it took a little while.
yeah, so he's like, the U.S. together with Mexico and Canada just got the World Cup. Congratulations, a great deal of hard work. And of
Yeah.
course,
I
old
I was thinking he was gonna potentially say like screw you to anybody that did vote against it, even with it being awarded to the United bid. Let's see, and then
I would like to
shortly
know
after that
Justin
he.
Trudeau's thoughts on the matter. I'd like to
Oh
know
yeah, I wonder
what he thinks,
let me
except for
see.
the
I
week he's had.
kind of want
But
to go to his Twitter and see Justin Trudeau. And then shortly thereafter, Donald Trump tweeted, "Oil prices are too high. OPEC is at it again. Not good!" Exclamation mark. Uh,
not good.
let's see. Um, I don't think. Oh yeah, so Justin Trudeau. Good news this morning: the 2026 FIFA World Cup is coming to Canada, the U.S., and Mexico. Congratulations to everyone who worked hard on this bid. It's going to be a great tournament. What about Russia's chances in the World Cup? Their first game
Russia's
is with Saudi
chances.
Arabia tomorrow, I believe, right?
Yes, at
Mm-hmm.
the ripe old time of 11 a.m. Everybody can get a
That's
chance to
right.
watch
So the time difference is seven hours if you're on the East Coast of the United States.
That's
Correct.
perfect for that office cubicle live stream.
Yeah. I wonder if it'll have so apparently during March Madness there's like a big drain in terms of productivity where people they're just streaming everything on their work computers, streaming on their phones, and they're not getting any work done. I assume there will be some of that, not as much as the March Madness. But back to you with like the Russia chances.
Yeah. So obviously, they're the hosts. When you are the hosts of a international tournament, you automatically get an automatic bid to play in the tournament. So that's kind of neat. For Russia, it's helpful for them because right now they are the lowest ranked team in the tournament. So part of that
The entire
is,
tournament?
I believe so. Yes.
Oh
They're
wow.
the lowest ranked host country. Like they're the lowest ranked for a host country team ever.
Oh
Even
wow.
lower than South Africa. Interesting.
Yeah,
Wow.
they're
Dang.
That's so it's a little bit different too because with that it's also so FIFA have kind of they're redoing their rankings, obviously giving a bigger weight now towards actual competitive games you play in qualifiers rather than friendlies, and so that was kind of the thing with Russia. They're only playing friendlies during that time; it doesn't really count for much of anything. because they've already qualified. So that's one way to look at why their rating was so low. And the other part is they're kind of so at Euro 2008 under Gus Hiddink, they had a huge run to the Andre Arshavin was the big player. Roman Pavlyuchenko thought, okay, is this a rebirth of Russian football? They were huge in the 50s and 60s. Obviously, their keeper, Lev Yashin. And so they thought, okay, this is the start of something new for Russia. They had a decent showing in 2012. The big kind of takeaway for them was Alan Jagoyev kind of came out of there and was like, oh, really good playmaker from Russia. They do produce technical players. But so the kind of weird thing is they're a very old side. And so they're working on trying to get in some young blood in there.
They've got twins that I like.
They have twins, yes.
Yeah.
Russia has twins on their team?
They do have twins.
The Miranda twins. Yeah, they're like sort of attacking players. One of them's a forward, one of them's a midi. They're not super young, but they're in their mid-20s ish. But they're fun. They could be good.
Yeah. So Alexei is the forward. Anton is the creative midfielder. He's going to have a lot of the kind of creative responsibilities for the team, along with Alexander Golovin, who's the youngest player for Russia at Euro 2016. He's how kind of throughout qualifying come a little, or not qualifying, but throughout the last couple of years, kind of indispensable for Russia. I like the little note here, Michael, that Anton is known as being heavier, and I believe one of them was born 10 minutes apart. I can't remember which one off the top of my head, but I thought that was kind of older. Anton, yeah.
So are they're fraternal twins or identical, or I forget which are the two. They look quite alike.
You were asking the wrong guy here.
Now I have to Google it and look it up. It's like I always mix it up. Fraternal. I'm pretty sure identical is where they look the same. Yes. Nice. Right on. So they're both 22, along with Golovin, right?
Yeah. Yep. So Golovin's 22. Alan Jagoyev is getting older, and he's 26. Still a quality player. Kind of shocked that he chose to stay in Russia. I know his stock was pretty high after Euro 2012. Never really went after that. Yuri Zhirkov is real old. He's 35. He was Premier League fans recognize him. He was left back for Chelsea. He left, I want to say, 2011 to go play for Anji Makashkawa, which was at the time this kind of weird, crazy project in world football that they signed Samuel Eto'o and like just basically threw a bunch of money at a lot of players and tried to go for as long as they could before kind of like, oh, we can't sustain this. But the big player missing is Alexander Kokorin from Zenit. I think he scored like 13, 14 goals this season. So they're going to be counting on Fedor Smolov, who plays for Krasnodar. Actually had a pretty decent season. He scored double digits the last, I want to say, 3 seasons for Krasnodar. He's got 14 goals, 6 assists this season. His record for the national team isn't nearly as stellar, so that's the kind of issue. Who's going to score these goals? So you're going to look at a lot of pressure on Golovin and the twins to kind of create chances for them and kind of put them away. The interesting thing about them is their defense. I've been trying to like figure out how are they going to match up. And so they've got a really old back line. So they've got older wing backs, older center backs. So you can get away with having older center backs if you've got.
Oh wow, one guy's 38 years old. Ignashevich.
Ignashevich, yep. So he's been playing a lot for them still. He featured in both of the recent friendlies. So I was trying to figure out, are they going to play a back 3, which is they've hinted that's their kind of preferred formation, but they kind of alternate between that and the back 4. And so they used a combined 10 center backs from the past 2 years. They still haven't quite worked out who's going to play. Kudapov, Ignashevich, and Smolnikov started against Turkey last week. I'm going to butcher all of these names, so I do apologize in advance.
No worries.
We don't have to go through every player on the team.
Yeah. What about so I'm sharing my screen here. Just in terms of Group A, so Saudi Arabia, how do they stack up? I know Egypt's good with Mo Salah. Uruguay has Suarez, I believe, right, who bit an Italian player, I think, during the the last World
He's
Cup.
been quite a few players.
He's
It's not.
yeah,
It's
he's
a
a serial
regular.
biter, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
he's a little crazy.
I'm gonna look
Um,
up some of those
he's got the
memes,
last two World Cups. Yeah.
but yeah, if you want to
yeah.
talk a little bit about Group A.
So yeah. So the second lowest team, of course, is Saudi Arabia. Um, they're not expected to kind of do a whole lot in the tournament. They've got a big player up top, Mohammed Al Salawi. The kind of their main man up front. 31 years old, plays for the big Saudi Arabian club Al Nasser. He actually has a really good international scoring rate, 28 goals and 48 caps. So that's puts him in elite status if you want to look at just the numbers. Um, but they aren't expected to kind of do a whole lot. Uruguay obviously should theoretically be smooth sailing for them. Obviously, you've got Suarez up front. You have Edison Cavani from PSG. Those are the kind of two main guys for Uruguay for so long. Diego Godin, captain of Atletico Madrid, going to be captaining the side. He's going to be there. Jose Jimenez.
They also have like these four midfielders, these young guys that are like really cool.
Yeah, so this is what I'm excited about. I'm really excited to kind of see what these guys do. Lucas Torreira, he's about to sign for Arsenal from Sampdoria, young ball winner. He's really good distributing the ball. The player that I'm like super excited about, one of the players I'm really excited to watch, is Federico Valverde. He's owned by Real Madrid. He spent this past season on loan at Deportivo. He's kind of really good on the ball, great ball control, able to kind of change directions in small spaces very quickly. And some writers, pundits are comparing him to Toni Kroos and Xabi Alonso in that he can kind of drop in deep right between the center backs and just start spraying passes out wide. So he's definitely a player I'm excited to watch. You also have Rodrigo Benaticor as well, who is owned by Juventus. So they've got quite a few younger players coming up, which was kind of the worry the last time around, that this kind of golden generation for Uruguay was starting to age out a little bit. So that is going to be exciting. They also have Maximiliano Gomez, Celta Vigo striker, rumored that he might be on the move this summer. Kind of the next kind of striking hope for Uruguay. So he's going to be a player to kind of keep your eyes open as well.
I did find some memes here. I don't know if these are memes necessarily, but I typed in Suarez bite on Google and went to Google Images.
Wow.
So there's these. I don't know if you can see them, of him with like vampire teeth with blood. There's Chiellini, who I believe, yeah, Chiellini is the guy who he bit during the last World Cup. And he's like, look at him, he bit me. Here's my shoulder to prove it. And then you could see the bite marks. I remember that you could see the bite marks pretty clearly. And then him holding his teeth because he probably bit somebody too hard. No, I'm kidding. I don't know what happened here.
I mean, that's my favorite part. The fact that like, oh, I didn't bite anybody.
This guy is so there was some video I saw in the search results that was like all three bites is the name of the video. But apparently he bit this dude, Chelsea Serbian defender. Yeah, so he's like biting him right
clearly.
there.
And so there's kind of I have this like stupid conspiracy theory about when Suarez chooses to bite. And so because he's not the first time he's done this.
Right.
So he's profiled as someone who wants to win at all costs. Something you want on that kind of mentality you want on your team, but obviously not to the extent that he takes it. But I'm blanking on the name of the Otman Bikali was the player he bit for PSV back in the fall of 2010. So that was right after the World Cup. He didn't leave Ajax. So he bit him. And so my little stupid theory is that when he decides he wants to move or change teams, he's going to go crazy and try to bite somebody. So he bit Bikali, moved to Liverpool. 2013, he bit Branislav Ivanovic, tried to leave that following summer to Arsenal with their famous £40 million +1 bid that Liverpool rejected. And so he's like, okay, you'll stay for the season. Had a heck of a year. And then obviously the World Cup happened, bit Chiellini, and then ended up leaving to go to Barcelona. So that's the kind of thing that's like, I'm not really sure where he can go. He can only go down from there. So if he really wants to leave, who's he going to bite? So there was a funny little anecdote from the Russian defender, Petakov, where he essentially like, oh, we're not afraid of anybody. I'll bite Suarez if I have to. So that'd be something I'd love to see, kind of like, oh, who's going to bite whom? So
What about favorites overall for the entire tournament?
Entire
Maybe about
tournament.
three or four of the top favorites.
Of course. Definitely Germany. Your repeat champions. Their talent base is just, it's so deep. And they still have their core five of Toni Kroos, Mesut Ozil,
Mm.
Manuel Neuer still in goal, Mats Hummels, Thomas Muller, which is going to be an interesting player to keep your eye on because
Which player?
Thomas Muller,
Oh, okay.
because let's see, I think he's either on 10 or 11 World Cup goals. The record is 16 set by Miroslav Klose at the past World Cup. And so that's kind of one of the things I'm kind of keep my eye on is what, because Mueller's only 28.
Mm-hmm.
So theoretically, he's not a player who relies on pace or physicality. So theoretically, he could very well play in another World Cup. So I'm kind of keeping an eye on whether or not he'll go on a scoring run, maybe score the 4 or 5 goals to kind of close that gap between Klose. So Germany, very strong side, and they have so many young players. Like you look at the list of players who didn't even make it. Leroy Sané, one of the most dangerous players in the Premier League for Manchester City, didn't even make the cut. Lars Stindl, unfortunately, who broke out last year at the Confederations Cup plays for Mönchengladbach. He was injured. So many players are injured. But it's nuts. Like they still carry all these players. Timo Werner going to be one of my players to watch. Young forward. Meanwhile, you have Brazil, of course.
Yes.
Which group are they in?
They are in Group E, I believe.
That's correct. Nice.
Yes. I think they're going to be a far better team than they were in 2014. I kind of had a lot of issues with that team. They weren't really balanced. Obviously, they had no firepower up front with Fred. Like Fred was like 32, 34 at the time. Like kind of just there up front. He did score against Croatia. But this time around, they've got a better supporting cast around Neymar, which is kind of the big story. Bringing his buddy Felipe Coutinho from Barcelona, Roberto Firmino and Gabby Jesus are the kind of the new strikers.
This team is freaking loaded.
They're loaded.
Yeah.
It's gonna be nuts. Casemiro has emerged as probably one of the best holding midfielders in the entire world. So he was a player that was sorely lacking last time around as they got ripped apart against Germany. Paulinho is a favorite of Tite. And of course, you have Fernandinho playing under Pep at Man City. There was a big notable exclusion. This player, Arthur, who is now owned by Barcelona, he was kind of killing it for Gremio in the Copa Libertadores, the big South American club competition. So I think he's going to be one of those guys to watch in the next few years, but we don't have to talk about him. Other teams to look out for, France. I mean, that team is also stacked. It's going to be kind of interesting to see who gets to play, who's going to be happy. But
do
their
they
midfield,
have an easy group there? Because they're with Australia. I don't know how Australia stacks up, but I assume not high, but I could be completely wrong.
yeah. So they are going to be expected to qualify out of that group pretty easily. It's going to be kind of between Peru and Denmark to kind of finish second. I'm saying Peru. I think Peru are going to kind of come out second in that group.
Okay.
Australia. Sorry, go ahead, Michael.
Well, here's my question about this group.
Okay.
So this is the group of love. Have you heard of this?
A group
I
of
haven't,
love, you
actually.
said?
Yeah, so they're calling this a group of love because Peru, who I guess was so excited to be in this tournament, that they made a video, this like tribute video to the other countries, like being like so excited to like compete against you. We love everyone. Best of luck to everyone.
Oh.
And here, wait, let's see if I did have it. Anyway, but then, oh no, yeah, wait, here, I'll share my screen for 1
Oh,
second.
sure, go for it.
Share. All right. Yeah, so they had this video.
Mucho tiempo. Quizá ya no te acuerdes mucho de mí. Así que quise escribirte esto para hacerte recordar la cultura de nuestras mesas o el clima, que es el trago amargo de la derrota. Porque en estos años nos hizo recordar que cuando ponemos las manos firmes, cuando arriesgamos.
Whatever. So that was the thing, like whatever. So that was the thing, like celebrating Peru and like thanking the other countries. And then like Denmark came back and they made like a national anthem. with About Peru.
Really?
Fire. And they like rewrote their national anthem About Peru.
I think I saw
Really?
this, but I had no idea what this was for.
With like
And
the melody of the Danish anthem or something?
yes, but it was about Peru, and then the other countries too. I'll drop the screen share. The other countries too came back with their own like thank you videos. So they
Oh,
all make thank you videos, we love you videos.
nice.
That's amazing.
Is this the first group of love? I assume it's the first group of love. I've never heard that before.
Weird thing. I don't know how I feel about it. Like I get
Like,
To be
you
honest,
take the ball. No, you take the ball.
bring people together. This is great. It's good for the world. But you want to kick their ass. I don't know if like love thing. I don't know what your takes on that are, but I don't know. But that's
Interesting. Yeah, I had no idea.
France and Australia and Peru and whatever. So that's a group of love.
Group of love.
Right
I like
on.
it.
What are some other pop culture tidbits that you have for us?
Oh man, yeah, there's plenty. So first of all, I'll run through a bunch really quick
Mm-hmm.
and scope. Sergio Ramos, our friend from Spain, first time captain. He's been in the news a lot leading up to this World Cup because he's definitely like a red card potential guy, and he got caught up in this whole like firing thing that just happened. And he's a legend, also an aspiring singer, and a pretty good one.
Oh.
So he recorded the Euro 2012 song for them, for the Spain national team, which is a little bit of this.
So that's him, right?
That's Sergio Ramos singing. And then he did the World Cup song too for this year with this pop star DeMarco Flamenco. But what's funny about it's a pretty good song. It's like Vamos España. It's a good song, and there's this nice video with like shows families and friends watching the games and stuff. But what's funny about it is Sergio Ramos has like maybe 10 seconds on the song.
Oh.
Like this is Sergio Ramos's part. This is it.
Nunca olvidemos lo que pudimos sentir.
Very nice.
Aquel camino a la victoria fue vivir. Aprendí no amar. Siempre nos guiará.
And that's it. Then the other guy.
I'm loving the auto tone he's got going on there.
Yeah,
Auto tune, excuse me.
Thing.
No worries.
So then that was it. But then, so Sergio Ramos then just released. Well, first of all, it's better than the Will Smith Diplo World Cup song. I don't know if you've heard that. It's like the official World Cup song for this year.
Oh, really?
It's like this Will Smith with random other people produced by Diplo.
So is it like EDM kind of a little bit?
It's a little bit like this.
One life, one dream, one moment, one team, one you. Lights high, 1,000 roadblocks, one shot, one
This is Will Smith?
fears, one flag. Oh yeah, we've been waiting for this. Oh yeah, we all out.
So that's
Question.
That's our World Cup song.
Will that Will Smith Diplo song, will this be this summer's Despacito?
Oh my God.
Last World Cup, it was Pitbull, I believe, right?
Yeah,
or at least
the one that was the big hit was the Waving Flag, like whatever year that was.
Cannon, what's it? Cannon?
Yeah,
that was 2010.
That was a big one.
World in Motion is the big one from like I think it was like 98. That was like the big one in England. They're like, oh, because every year they do this thing over in England where they like pick the World Cup song. Like, what's the song be playing for the English coverage? So I actually haven't kept up with it this year.
Yeah, I didn't.
But it was funny that you mentioned the Sergio Ramos. That like brought me back to like.
He has a single. He just came out with his debut single called SR4. He's rapping. It's really bad.
That's unbelievable. It reminded me of this clip that I saw. I'm trying to find it right now. But Cristiano Ronaldo, like I want to say like 7-8 years ago, like sang Bésame Mucho.
Oh yeah,
Kiss Me a Lot.
And it was so, I was like, yikes. I mean, he has a really deep voice, and it's just like they're working hard to make sure it's on tune.
Sing seductive songs.
No way.
Because I'm just used to hearing him like going like, "Whoo!" every time he scores. Like he did that when he won the Ballon d'Or. He just like yells. So it's just like just you seeing Ronaldo yelling. I couldn't find it, but that's something that
You
finding
should
your own
write
time.
up a quibble about will Suarez bite another person during this World Cup?
We do have one.
Yeah,
I have the.
We
I've got
do.
the.
Have like, will there be like a Suarez incident type thing?
Mm.
And I put the one about Kudapov as well. I said, who's gonna bite? Who's gonna bite each other? Like who's gonna bite first?
Let's see.
We're all over biting here at Quibbl.
Nice. Let's see. What are one or two other pop culture items that
Sure,
you
yeah.
might have?
That's the fun thing about the World Cup, especially when the U.S. isn't in it, is that I'm just researching and reading about all these other teams, and there's all these weird stories. So, like the Iceland team,
Mhm.
already my favorite, probably the tournament. Obviously,
Fucking clap.
story with like the how few people they have in their country, the smallest country ever to have a team in the World Cup. They had a nice run in the Euros last time.
Mhm.
So they have this great team. Great
That
story.
chant. I love that chant.
The Viking clap thing, which is cool. You know, their coach is a dentist and is, you know, has his day job, which we've talked about. This team is like in Iceland, like these guys they have 9 to 5 jobs and then they play soccer.
Damn.
The goalie for them is one of my favorite players in the tournament. His name is Hans Thor. His middle name is Thor Halderson, and he is not only the goalie for the national team, but he's also like a pretty well-known filmmaker in the country.
Hmm.
Pretty cool. Or he is like sort of he's well known because he's the goalie and he hasn't done that much film stuff yet, but he's like on his way. He says like his full-time job is being a filmmaker, and like he plays soccer at 5 when he's off work. He's always wanted to do both, and he made this like film in '96 about like Superman, but he called it Swimming Man. And then and then there's this funny contest that Europe does, this Eurovision song contest every year, where all the European countries contribute like songs that gets picked, and they pick a winner for some reason. I don't know why they do it. And, like England thinks it's a joke, but the northern countries think it's like take it really seriously. And so so he made like the video for Iceland's song, which was called Never Forget, which is like this really, really bad song. It came in 20th, which is not that good. And it's this really bad song, and the music video features like, it's really funny. It's like the most Icelandic thing I've ever seen. I'll share my screen for 1 second. This is my favorite part of the video.
Guilty.
Pretty much the most Icelandic thing. And it's not actually that terrible of a music video. It's actually sort of decently shot, but there's also elves involved and other things. Very
It's Game of Thrones.
It's Game of Thrones style. It's sort of about an elf who they like revere in their society. Very random. But he also, the coolest thing about him is he did like this. He's done a few commercials, IKEA, Iceland, whatever. But he says now he's working on his first feature film, and the way he described it, he says this quote. He says, "It's a supernatural, low-key ghost thriller that takes place somewhere in an isolated part of Iceland." So I'm super down for that movie, obviously. That
Low-key ghost thriller.
low-key ghost of Iceland, supernatural. That sounds really cool. Speaking of movies, we talked about Peru. We talked about Paulo Guerrero. That movie, there's this biopic. He's
This
a
is the guy involved in the cocaine scandal?
Right, and he's just like revered there. He is in this. There's this biopic made about him a couple of years ago. That was in 2016. It had the biggest opening weekend of any movie in Peru that year. He's like a huge deal, and I thought it was going to be kind of like a joke, but then I watched a trailer and it looked really good, and the views are really good. People really like it, and it looks like this like 90s kid. It's a lot about him as a kid. And it looks like this like 90s kid sports movie that kind of also has kind of that like old-fashioned dramatic kind of Miracle Hoosiers kind of sports movie vibe. But there's also like, it's pretty heavily stylized, and like there's thumping music the whole time, and like there's a whole dance sequence choreographed with all these kids. And it just looks like funny and rowdy and really fun and high energy, and like looks freaking awesome, to be honest. So like I'm
amazing.
Trying to see that movie for sure. That looks like really, really good. The other thing I wanted to ask you, oh, well, a couple other things. So there's an Iran. I'm going to run through this fast instead of like going through in detail.
No
Uh,
worries.
Iran has a player, Ashkan Dejaga, who has what seems like a really cool sushi bar in Berlin. These are like things you hear about other players reading about this tournament. James just launched a cryptocurrency basically to buy James merchandise.
Also Iranian?
What?
He's from Iran as well?
No, he's on Colombia, James Rodriguez.
Oh, okay.
He just launched a cryptocurrency for his to sell his own merch, which I think is pretty cool. The Swiss goalie Jan Sommer, he runs this like really cool food blog that like actually is like super impressive and like it looks really great. Here's his air fried dinner with risotto and sprouts. It's like
Brussels sprouts look fucking good.
Yeah,
like sprouts.
This website's super legit. This is run by this this Swiss goalie. It's freaking sweet. Dele Ali, who is on England, he's played Tottenham. He has this sick fashion line with including these like bomber jackets that I really want. This Boohoo Man that I really want. This here's James's.
They're priced reasonably as well.
Cryptocurrency, €30, man, for this bomber jacket.
Yeah,
£30.
30 pounds.
Oh, 30 pounds. Yeah, I read that as euros myself too. Damn.
30 pounds. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So that's like $60 or something. Let's see.
That looks fire. I really want that. So there's a lot of fun stuff. The last thing, there's also like a couple of things. Apparently, we're using spoons this time instead of vuvuzelas. I don't know if you saw this story.
I didn't see that.
What is that? Yes, I know the vuvuzelas caused a lot of noise at the South Africa.
Little weird little plastic trumpets.
So this time they're using these spoons instead.
Are they like thunder sticks? Like
they're like these. They're supposed to make these like I should just keep it on my screen. They're these spoons of victory.
Spoons of victory.
And they sort of sound like this in this video. You'll hear it.
Oh, it's like a wooden spoon.
And it's supposed to be this like kind of calming, like low key way of doing it. This is a strange video.
He's got spoons all over him.
I don't know how we feel about that, but that's what we're getting this time. Is we're getting spoons.
Was there something about Pamela Anderson or something?
Yes, this was what I wanted to end with. I mean, there's plenty of tabloids and dating weird stuff that we can get into, but we're not going to. That's for a whole nother podcast. But yes, my quibble is Pamela Anderson an international spy? Because I sort of think that she is after reading about her. So connected to the World Cup. Right. Yeah, so she dates. So I read this crazy Hollywood Reporter piece about her a few weeks ago, and now it's relevant again that I'm sure not that many people have read. So she is dating and very much involved with and living with and been rumored to be shopping for rings to be engaged to this guy, Adil Rami, who's a defender on France, and he plays for Marseille. She's 50, he's 32, but she looks darn good. And so anyway, she like up and moved to France and lives with him now. But this is some excerpts from this Hollywood Reporter article. Obviously, living legend, beach queen, Baywatch, American hero, Pamela Anderson. So apparently,
isn't she Canadian though? She's not American.
Is she?
I'm pretty sure.
Really?
Pam is Canadian.
Well, we're all hosting the World Cup together.
I'll look that up.
The world community. We're all one.
Yeah, even though we are like sort of.
We're both right.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, you finished, and then that reminds me of something. But yeah, she was born in British Columbia, portion of Canada. Interesting.
Well, anyway, she owned the Malibu beaches, so that's fine. So anyway, this is my last thing, and then we can talk politics and stuff.
Oh,
so
sure.
she's become pals with everyone. I'm quoting from this article. She's become pals with everyone from GOP billionaire activist Sheldon Adelson. This is her life in France now. She's become pals with everyone from GOP billionaire activist Sheldon Adelson, Bill Clinton. They partied together in Vienna, obviously. To kosher sex guru and former congressional candidate, Rabbi Shmuley Botich, and they wrote a book together. She's been on this book tour for this. and a slew of other movers and shakers from various corners of international culture. Punk designer Vivienne Westwood, pop artist Jeff Koons. As a political figure in her own right, championing animal rights, she's been invited to speak her mind at venues ranging from Oxford University, where she talked about veganism, to the Kremlin, where she spoke about Siberian tigers, to the Eastern Economic Forum, where she gave a speech about endangered species. There have been strange rumors about her dating a certain Russian president. Quote, I love this question, Anderson says, laughing when asked about her relationship with Vladimir Putin, but she doesn't actually answer.
Whoa.
And the main part of the piece is about how she's friends with Julian Assange.
Oh.
And she says they met years ago, but declines to reveal the exact nature of their relationship. Although it's clear her many visits with him at the embassy have drawn them close. Quote, we talk about everything. We talk about the Bible. We talk about what's happening with my kids, what's happening with his family. It's not just about politics. But she said the information he gives her is, quote, overwhelming. So my quibble is Pamela Anderson and International Woman of Mystery.
Interesting. So I'll give a couple of little politics tidbits, and then Ryan, if you want to pull up maybe one or two sports quibbles, your most interesting sports quibbles or ones that you like most passionately. Let's see. So one that I wrote up today is, will there be any reports of visitors' phones being hacked during the 2018 World Cup in Russia? So there was a Daily Mail article, which I'm going to share my screen so you guys can see it. And here we go. So fans traveling to Russia should leave their phones at home, as they are likely to be hacked by cyber criminals or even government spies, warn intelligence agencies. So I think one of those intelligence agencies was the so GCHQ, which is a British intelligence agency. They're the ones kind of like the NSA that I guess they spy on probably British citizens' phones and hack them themselves. But anyways, Edward Snowden did a whole bunch of stuff about them. But so that's one concern. Another quibble that I wrote, and a quibble, which I guess we should have probably started with this, is a prediction that you make. You get points if you're right about this prediction. They pertain to current events such as politics, entertainment, and sports. So another one that I wrote is pretty similar, but with Russia being such a spy-intensive country and engaging in so much surveillance, will any listening devices be discovered in hotel rooms during the 2018 World Cup? So I'm going to vote on that. I think that there will be. I'm going to go back to this other quibble, and I think that people's phones will be hacked. I don't know if they'll be hacked by the Russian government specifically, or if it's just going to be rogue hackers or hackers that are linked to the Russian government or something like that. But they have such a problem over there that I think that that's going to happen. So again, if you do vote and you are correct, you will get points and you will advance up the Quibbl leaderboards. So on that note, what about, so Ryan, you had spoken to me earlier in like the past few weeks about racism and things like that in the World Cup. So if you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'll just kind of give you I was kind of like overwhelmed like where I can kind of go with this. I was give you a little briefing of what I kind of know. So they've had fan troubles for years, and it's been kind of this thing that's been spreading throughout Eastern Europe and in Russian soccer in general. I know several, let's say 5 years ago, Zenit St. Petersburg had some incidences. The big one for me, like obviously being a Liverpool fan, so Ryan Brewster is a English player for Liverpool. I think he's 18, 19. He's playing the UEFA Youth Cup, and so against Spartak, he was racially abused by he was racially abused by a player. And so he came out earlier in the spring, kind of like saying like, I was upset. Like there needs to be something.
A player on his team or on a different team?
On Spartak, a Russian player racially abused him. And I don't know if there were fans involved. Maybe, I can't remember if there were fans involved too. But he kind of came out saying like, this can't happen. Why am I being abused? We're 19, 18 years old. That's kind of the latest list of racial incidents. The other thing that's pretty worrisome is this rise in this highly organized highly this highly organized brand of hooligan that's kind of emerged since they really kind of announced themselves the international stage in 2016, but they've kind of making themselves known for the past couple of years. So the kind of thing is that they're more organized than they used to be, because it used to be kind of like weird little like groups, people like, all right, get together and just beat the stuffing out of each other. And so I remember reading about it a couple years ago, and a couple of like Guardian, ESPN were kind of doing little exposés on them. But essentially the kind of thing is that these guys are like, no, they take their fitness very seriously. They're not drunk. They don't do anything like that. Like they're doing MMA training. So they're like going out there like straight up training to injure other fans.
Wow.
So let's see. I had so it came kind of late to Russian soccer, kind of coming in the 90s. Obviously copying what was going on in England. They had kind of their vicious kind of groups of fans they call firms.
Mm-hmm.
They have their favorite clothing labels and racist chants. And so it's kind of one of these things for young men who are kind of disassociated from their culture, whether it's poor economy or looking for some sort of identity. It's like this weird kind of hyper masculine community that kind of gives this like sense of community and belonging to these guys who are kind of like, I don't know, what am I doing in my life? Where am I going? And so it's weirdly, it's like a bizarre kind of career path. And so politicians, Russian politicians, especially on the your far right, kind of saw these thugs as a kind of a way to, hey, we can get new, let's kind of appeal to these disenfranchised voters. And so then you kind of see this like mix, this like neo-Nazi far right movement that we're seeing around the world kind of come together and kind of just giving this place for giving an outlet for these men. So they're like, oh, free transport to away games. These are what the politicians are giving free transport, paying members to work as bodyguards as kind of hired hands or muscles, or even kind of giving them money to be a party
like
official.
A strong, tight-knit community, huh?
Yeah, so it's kind of this thing that it's a little scary, and some of the kind of brutality that we saw in Marseille in 2016, I saw some of the videos. It's a little rough. Like you just see these like gangs of guys just come out of nowhere, and all it sounds like, oh my god, like hanging out like. What's that?
I was in Marseille.
You were in Marseille
at the time?
Yeah, I literally was. Like I went. That was the one international soccer game I've ever been to. Was the Poland. Was the ticket?
Oh, you have a ticket? Dang.
It was Ukraine, Poland. The Euro Cup. I was on a trip to around that area, and we realized we were like, oh, let's hop down just to go to a cool big soccer game, which I never done in my life. But we got to Marseille, and it was like the whole city was like on lockdown. Like there
wow,
and just shit everywhere. It was like we were not expecting it. It was like super jarring. So then we left super early for the game. We're like, there's gonna be so much security. This whole city is like on high alert. And there was no security. Like there was like nobody even patted us down going into the stadium. We were like, that's not super good. But I don't know. I'm here now. But yeah.
Man.
But anyway, go on.
What do you think that there will be? I guess both of you and myself as well. Do you think there will be some sort of either, whether it's something as I don't know if I want to use the word innocuous, as like a banana peel being thrown on the field, or monkey chants, as high as something where there's like physical violence of some sort? Do you think that there will be any of those levels of like racism / violence or hooliganism during the event? Or events?
I'm gonna say yes. I think
somebody that says something stupid, yell some dumb stuff from the crowd. I don't know if it'll, blow up into some big incident.
Right.
But who the hell knows?
Do you think it'll be like one game that this might happen? Do you think it might be like 2, 3, several?
No, I mean, hopefully, like, not, I mean,
there's what we hope. There's what we hope, and then there's what you would quibble on, what you would make your prediction on, which I have to write this quibble up still, which is basically, will there be some sort of incident of that nature and stuff, and everybody will quibble on it.
I think Russia would like really not want that to happen. Like they're supposed to be like it's sort of a big opportunity for them on the world stage. Good like they point. Don't want to come off it. Like some fans might, if there's a game where fans say some bad stuff, like I would think Russia, the people in charge, would then crack down and be like, "Hey guys, like let's have none of this."
They're gonna have dogs that are trained instead of to sniff bombs, they're gonna sniff for banana peels. And then if you got one,
They're
then
gonna
you're
say for like
out.
sniff for like tolerance or something, and I was gonna be that's pretty cool. But
Man.
yeah,
But
So
no,
yeah, I assume security will probably be pretty tight. But obviously, I guess chants, like you can't screen for like a chant going in. Maybe banana peels as part of my joke and stuff, but
I mean Russia like literally almost got banned from their own tournament for like fan racism. I don't.
oh
Think,
yeah, that's right. They were on like a probation or
yeah,
punishment or
it's
something like
happened
that, right?
earlier this year. So like I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure they will kind of. I would hope at least that their fans would kind of get that because that was
Right.
news.
I
Yeah.
think for sure that we're probably going to see some clash between fans. I mean, I remember in 2006 when Germany and Poland they were drawn in a couple groups, a couple different tournaments for a couple of years. Kind of a bunch of thugs they believe were kind of associated with some of these neo-Nazi far right groups kind of clash. So I think we're going to see at least one or two kind of skirmishes with Russian fans because there have been kind of rumors that they're like asking. They're telling England fans kind of be careful when they're going abroad, just kind of watch yourself. I know, for instance, Danny Rose, the England left back. It was kind of a sad article about him. He's kind of opening up about his struggles with depression and injury over the past year or so. But he essentially told his family to not go to the tournament, which like killed his dad and killed his parents because it's like this is what that's literally what they devoted their lives to when they were younger, when he was younger, making sure he could play and kind of get this opportunity, and to not be able to see their son play at the highest stage or the pinnacle of his career because of racism and this kind of instability. It is heartbreaking. It's a massive shame that this is still going on. So that was kind of a note that I want to bring up about Danny Rose, but I'm not gonna be surprised if we see a skirmish. I'm gonna say probably two. That's my number. Two skirmishes we'll see with some of these thugs.
The last thing that I'm going to say before we bring it to a close here, if you guys have anything else you want to add, go ahead. But let me know what you think about this. So a politics quibble that we wrote up several months ago is this. So I'm sharing my screen. You guys can see this, right?
Yep.
Awesome. So will Russia invade or attack another country after or during the World Cup? So this might seem outrageous to some people. Like, why would they do that? But actually, Russia slash the USSR, they have a history after major sporting events that they've hosted of invading another country or hacking another country's elections. So as far back as the Olympics that they held in the 1980s, I think it was either 1980 or 84, I could be wrong, but during the 80s, the Soviet Union hosted the Olympics, the Summer Olympics. And shortly thereafter, they invaded Afghanistan. In 2008, after a massive upset victory against the Netherlands, I believe is who it was, they invaded Georgia, their neighbor, which was a former Soviet constituent or entity. And then in 2014, shortly after the Sochi Winter Olympics, Russia invaded Crimea and annexed Crimea, which was, as the international community recognized it, part of Ukraine. So wanted to see what you thought about that. I think that there will be some sort of, at a bare minimum, I think they're still going to try and meddle in the midterm elections that are going to take place in 2018 here in the United States. So I think that's what's going to happen. I think that's probably going to be the highest extent that it goes to. So it says specifically invade or attack. So I would consider some sort of cyber meddling an attack. So I'm going to hit yes there. I think that that's what it's going to kind of be limited to, but wanted to see what you guys think.
Yeah, that's interesting. Kind of with going on, I'm not as I try to keep up to date with Syria, but I'm not quite as up to date as I'd like to be. But I kind of feel like that would be the most likely area if they're going to attack or invade, if you will. Because I know kind of the escalating tensions with Syria between the U.S., their own people, Bashar al-Assad. I'm going to say that they're probably going to get involved a little bit more in Syria within a few months. That'd be.
How many games do you think Putin goes to?
He doesn't like
I
soccer.
heard he hates soccer.
He likes hockey, right? He plays hockey. Like
Big
Plays
hockey
those
player, yeah.
big hockey games where they let him score. Yeah,
He and Ovechkin are going off right now.
that's gonna sound like a good time. Man.
Oh yeah, what are they partying together or something?
Well, they're friends. And
yeah,
Okay, I get you.
Ovechkin's been going crazy the last few days just with the Stanley Cup, just getting drunk everywhere. Yeah.
Right on.
I'm gonna say so he's got to be there for at least 2 for the
Tomorrow, you think?
tomorrow in the final,
And then the final, yeah, probably that's it.
I would say another. He'll probably go to another Russia group game. I'm saying 2 Russia group games. Final. I'm gonna say.
Oh, you think he goes? I mean, when you said the final, I was like, of course he'll be there. But now I'm thinking like, not if Russia's not even playing in it.
He'll be there. He has to be.
You think so?
He's got to be there.
That's a good quibble. Is that written? Is there a quibble for that? I'll write that because I guess that applies to politics and stuff. So I'll write that myself. Make a note of that later. Let's see. What was the?
I'm gonna say 6 games.
6 games? No way.
Games.
He's got to keep up. He got to keep appearances. You know. He can't just, hide away.
PR is a big thing. The reason that I wrote that quibble is because that after those events, those invasions took place because there was such support of the government, the approval rating of the government in power, whether it was Putin or the Soviet Union at the time. There was such high approval rating that Putin or the Soviet Union basically took advantage of that, and they're like, we're gonna invade this country where there's like potentially a proxy war with the United States and so on and so forth. Let's see. Is there anything else that you guys want to add that you can think of before we bring it to a close here?
I want to know your individual predictions for winner, runner-up, dark horse.
Dark horse, and define
dark horse
again.
Spot. So a team is not quite a favorite, but could still kind of surprise everybody, make an okay run. So like for me, it'd be Peru or Senegal. So we have winner, runner-up, dark horse. I'm gonna say, give me a leading scorer.
So I probably won't be able to do that because I'm just not as familiar with the various players. I'm gonna, just because he's the guy that I know off the top of my head, and he did so well in UEFA. I'm gonna say Mo Salah, top scorer. I don't know if he'll be able to make it in as well. So that's pretty bold because he is probably still coming off of his injury. But it's also because mostly I just have no idea who the various players are and stuff like that. Either that or a German. I'm gonna say a German player like Muller and stuff because of the way you presented him. So Senegal would be my dark horse. I think they might make it and get to the quarterfinals. Either I think they'll go to the quarterfinals. At the most, they'll get to the semifinals. I don't think they're gonna make it into the final. And then the winner, I would say, is probably going to be, I think, Germany.
Germany?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the runner-up, let's see. I'm just going to say Brazil, just because of everything that I know about the rankings and everything was basically what I learned right now. So I don't know as much as you, but so
that's my final.
What about you, Michael? And then you'll be the last to go because you're the sports guy.
Sports guy.
Sports guy.
So I've got Brazil winning it. I just think they're the most stacked team. I think they I thought they were the kind of almost the best team last time, but it was just like the pressure of being in your host country. It's like really tough. And then Neymar got hurt, and that just kills you. They've done awesome in qualifying. We've talked about a couple of the guys they've had emerge, Gabriel Jesus and Firmino. Yeah, like they're like Firmino. Yeah, they're seem to be super loaded. I have them winning it. They seem overdue.
What about your runner-up and your dark horse?
My runner-up is, this is going to be brutal if it happens. I think Messi's going to come close again, but lose it. I know Argentina is not the second best team, but they're one of the best teams. And I think Messi's going to be awesome in this tournament. Like, I think he's going to be like really, really, really good. But and he can still carry. They were runner-up last time. I think they do it again. Another heartbreaking defeat for Messi. I kind of hope I'm wrong. I'd love to see him win it.
I'd be heartbroken for him.
Yeah, but I sort of think also that side of the draw is not as imposing. I think there's
No.
more. There's just the other side that has Brazil and France and Belgium and England.
Portugal too. Portugal could be there.
Other teams. Because I don't know, Spain's loaded, but this coach thing worries me. I never think Portugal's that good. There's some other. I mean, Germany. I don't think they're going to repeat because I never pick teams to repeat in sports. I mean, there's some frisky teams on this side. Colombia can make a run, but I just think Messi brings his team there. But Brazil wins in the end, and because of Brazil going that far and winning, I got to go with Neymar because I think Neymar's going to. There's like a very good chance Neymar's the best player in this tournament. Like I think Neymar might just have his peak prime, like incredible legendary World Cup run that he has right now. And I would love to see it because he's dope.
He is rested, so that's going to be.
So Brazil was your runner up. Is that right?
I've got Brazil winning it. I've got them beating.
Oh, Brazil was winning it, and then
got them beating Argentina in the final.
Right, and then your dark horse.
Oh, my dark horse.
Yeah, I forgot about
Man, there's a bunch of these like kind of next level teams that are all I think pretty good that can make moves. Let me look at this draw and see who can kind of get out of there. I really like Group D with Iceland, Croatia, Nigeria because one of those teams has to be second.
That group is ridiculous.
Obviously, Colombia is really good, but they're not even a dark horse. They're really good. I think Mexico is good. I like all these teams. Denmark with Eriksson can make runs. I guess if I had to man up and choose a team, really make a run. I'm going Mexico.
Mexico's
choice. Your dark horse?
Yeah, because I think I like them getting out of that group. Germany wins that group, but I like Mexico over Sweden and South Korea. And then whoever they play in Group H, who they play next, whether it's Poland or Colombia, like that's a winnable game too. And Mexico's good. Like Mexico's due for like a good World Cup run. They like always kind of disappoint. But they've got strong players this time. I'll be rooting for them also as our World
team
hosting partner.
Right on. What about you, Ryan? And we'll bring it to a close after that.
Yeah, so I ended up filling out a bracket. I won't go through my whole bracket because that's a little crazy. But so I have Germany and Brazil in the final. Germany winning. Third place game, I've got Portugal and Spain. Spain capturing that. I'm a little iffy about that because of the the firing of. So they fired their manager a couple of hours ago, early in the day, Lopetegui. So that's a little interesting. That might be a little. We'll see about that. But I do like this Portuguese team. I'm usually not fond of them.
Bernardo Silva helps. Like having him. Yeah.
Bernardo Silva is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Bruno Fernandes, and I think he's going to be one of these players to watch in the tournament. So Gelson Martins, and William Carvalho have all terminated their contracts for their club. They used to be part of Sporting Lisbon, but so it was a weird kind of thing where fans were upset and they attacked players during a training session. So players have been slowly canceling their contracts over the past few weeks, past couple of days. So they went from having the most players on the Portuguese team to now having 0. I do like Portugal a lot. I don't know how many goals Ronaldo's going to score. I'm kind of iffy about that. But in terms of dark horses, obviously Peru and Senegal, those are my two big teams I'm kind of keeping an eye on. My big kind of shock for the tournament, in the round of 16, I've got Peru facing Argentina. I've got Peru beating Argentina.
Oh, wow.
So I feel bad for Messi. I love Messi. But I think Peru they've got destiny on their side. I'm feeling it. As I say that, of course, they'll crash out of the group and things like that. Top goal scorer, I've been kind of struggling to think who I think is going to kind of do it. I'm going to go for Timo Werner out of Germany, the young striker.
Gonna start, or he will soon enough.
I think he will. If he doesn't start the first match, he will probably by the end of the group. That's my bold prediction. I think Timo Werner will be top scorer. I know I was thinking kind of between Werner and Antoine Griezmann.
Yeah.
I was like,
France is awesome. Like we didn't talk enough about France. Like they're loaded and awesome and young and dynamic and deep and all that stuff. Yeah.
Right on.
I have Portugal beating France in penalties in the quarters.
Oh wow.
Dang.
But no, I think Serbia is going to be another one of those teams to watch just to be entertaining. There's a lot of young players. I think I have them getting, second out of the group from Brazil. So I think they'll be interesting to watch. I'm going to boldly say that Timo Werner is going to be leading scorer. I'll probably be eating my words in a couple weeks, but
Nice.
why not, right?
Right
it's
on.
the Pisco in me. The Pisco.
The Pisco. Yeah. Speaking of that, I gotta take a leak pretty bad. But anyways, so that pretty much sums it up. Quibbl is a website where you can make predictions. You get points if you're correct. I'm Andrew Kingsbury. I am the politics editor. This is Ryan Cluett. He is the sports editor. And this is Michael Corvo. He is the pop culture editor. We'll do another one of these live streams later on. But we will see, and have a great night, everybody.